Hello. I'm going to put out a couple of comments from yesterday's question on the posting wealth and valuation on the United States 500 years ago to now comparison. And Haploid has kicked in with a good comment. So I'm going to read it out and see how we go from there. Off the top of my head, it wasn't off the top of my head, there's thinking that's gone into this. But yeah, good on you, Haploid, thank you. Off the top of my head, I'd say 500 years ago, there was more discrete, for the brackets, mostly resources like oil, rare earths, etc. Things. And he says he's going to use things instead of wealth stroke stuff, like I have been, to avoid confusion with what may be construed as wealth and so as to separate the two. But less composition, this is the other thing that was there, but less composition of tangible stroke intangible transformational things. Intangible, mostly human ingenuity and brain power. And tangible, machinery, sophisticated tools, people as in labour. Even though we've always had sun, wind, water, etc., I'd say they would be modern, tangible, transformational inputs because we've only recently just learned how to harness them. But you still need those discrete inputs, which is the limiting factor, and those are diminishing. I mean, the growing of wheat is accepted, that's been going on with the sunlight and water for a long time. But 500 years later, there is less discrete things and much more of that tangible, intangible, transformational input that is used to derive a valuation of what constitutes relative wealth, and that's at the final stage. So perhaps there is just the same amount of wealth now as there was 500 years ago if you consider the shift in less discrete things and more tangible, intangible, transformational things. Perhaps a little bit more now, but overall the same. Okay. First, this shows that if somebody's going to comment and they've put thought into it, or if they're going to make a presentation and they've put thought into it, it's not easy to understand what they are presenting. You have to actually apply yourself and concentrate on it. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Easier to read is Barda Dude's one line. The wealth is the same. It always will be, always has been, only the valuations differ. Now, using Occam's razor, Barda Dude gets it on the nod, naturally. And I think that's a good, because we have to appreciate that when presenting stuff, you've got to keep it simple because people have got busy lives and they don't have time to concentrate on new ideas or people encourage them to think in a different way. So Barda Dude gets it on the modern, what should we call it, way of presenting stuff, using Occam's razor and keeping it simple. The wealth is the same, it always will be, always has been, only the valuations differ. Okay, now, using haploid stuff, I think we can start thinking that all stuff, physical stuff, has always been the same. It always will be, always has been, only the valuations differ. As in a pretty good book of French, you can tear it up, there's the same stuff there, but it's now transformed, presented in a different way, and the valuations are altered. But the same stuff's there. It used to be, it's paper, it used to be a tree, it used to be stuff, it still is stuff, always will be stuff. I'll burn it, I don't know. But without getting into too many, nutting it down too far. Basically, stuff is stuff and always has been, always will be, and it's only the valuations that differ. Whether it's a Van Gogh, the stuff that crushed up beetles that went into making the paint was a crushed up beetle. Now it's been made into paint and put on a bit of canvas, and the valuation is different, but the stuff is basically the same. It's one of those laws of something or other. But as Haploid says, back then in America, or in modern America, now we have the complication of 30 million more brain powers, and that is what we're going to have to deal with next. Yeah? Okay. That said, and I think that's reasonable, that's going to be the next stage. I'm going to go with physical stuff is always physical stuff, and transformation transforms the valuations. But brain power is going to be a trickier one, and I'll have a stab at that. But going back to the physical stuff again, because some people still aren't getting it, from the writing of this, it was in this, so I might as well go up and use it. In the writing for Wealth and Valuation, hopefully you read it and understood what I was trying to get at, using a car crash and a car body shop work as the link between what is generally thought of as wealth creation, building a car, we don't build cars in America anymore, that sort of thing, and hairdressing, which is, we only do social work or hairdressing, and we'll get to social work one day. And I wrote for the people that are struggling with the hairdresser thing. That's just a repeat of what I just said then. So this is a bridge. Imagine a car. Okay, so we've got our car now, nice new looking car. And from Barda Jude's thing, it's stuff, it's wealth, it's actual valuation changes, it doesn't. Well, we'll see when you'll get it. Car, it gets involved in a car crash, so it's got a fender bender. It's all bent up. The stuff has been transformed, but it's basically the same stuff. But it's been transformed in a way that society doesn't value it as much as it did before the crash. So it goes into the body shop, and the body shop person repairs it and makes it more socially acceptable, and now its valuation is more elevated, or it's elevated to roughly where it was before the car crash. So for hairdressing, obviously that's about the same. The hairdresser is the equivalent of the body shop worker. That hair was socially acceptable, it grows long, becomes socially unacceptable. I'm not trying to push the socially acceptable, that's just an explanatory value. Hairdresser comes along, puts it back, makes the valuation back to where it was. Something along those lines. And for the Kate Moss girl, it's even more stretched, because if Kate Moss on a photo shoot was having a bad hair day, the valuations are more critical. But we go back to the making of the car initially, that everyone thinks is the making of wealth. And you've got metal and rubber. That is transformed, just like the body shop people transform cars, bodies, and hairdressers transform hair. They transform the metal and the rubber into a car, which is then, in a socially accepted way, has a different and higher valuation. These workers generally raise the value of the wealth, the basic stuff, and that's all the same. That's all what they do. So I think I'll leave it there, because I think that's a good place to leave it. Okay, next time. Bye.